Her words, "Aliens don't love like humans," but then she did. The mining station felt like a half-finished crossword puzzle abandoned by the universe. Half the lights flickered with the enthusiasm of a dying star, and the air smelled like burnt plastic and desperate engineers. Theo hunched over a console, muttering curses at machinery that refused to cooperate, sparks dancing across the panel like fireflies on a caffeine high. "Come on, baby," he pleaded, tapping the screen as if it were a stubborn pet. "Don't quit on me now. I still have 4 paychecks and a date with a space burger joint." The station shuddered under some unseen force, a distant boom rattling the air ducts. Theo's stomach churned. He'd spent enough time out here to know that shudders like that never meant a party was about to start. He sighed and wiped sweat from his forehead, wondering which part of the station would try to kill him next. Then a high-pitched whine cut through the silence, a sound definitely not on the maintenance schedule. He spun, hand instinctively on, the plasma cutter at his belt, just in time to see a sleek silver vessel streak across the viewport, trailing smoke like a cosmic birthday candle. The craft skidded across the station's outer hull and screeched to a halt just meters from his position. Theo blinked. Well, that's new. A hatch hissed open with all the grace of a can of soup. A tall, silver-skinned woman stepped out, her eyes scanning the room with cold precision that made Theo feel like a bug under a microscope. Her movements were reptilian, fluid, deliberate, and she wore a suit of polished segments that hummed faintly with alien resonance. She regarded him with a look that seemed to weigh every one of his atoms. "I require immediate assistance," she said, her voice crisp and devoid of inflection. "My vessel's power core has destabilized." Theo's eyebrows shot up. "Destabilized? Lady, half this station is destabilized. Welcome to the club." He gestured around at the flickering lights and sagging conduits. "We're having T-shirts made." She blinked slowly, as if processing his sarcasm required a separate subroutine. "Your humor is inefficient." "Yeah, well, it keeps me sane." He leaned, back against the console, folding his arms. "Name's Theo. I'm the guy who's probably going to have to fix your ship before it takes the station with it." She nodded once, the movement precise and mechanical. "I am Alice. I do not require your assistance emotionally, only technically." Theo's grin widened. "Oh, good. For a second there, I thought you were about to propose." Alice's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker, barely a twitch, that suggested she might have found the joke amusing if she'd been wired for it. "Humans exhibit irrational bonding behavior under stress," she noted clinically. "My species evolved beyond such inefficiencies. We do not love like humans." "Good to know," Theo said, his grin never wavering, "because love on this station would be about as safe as a reactor meltdown." A tremor rattled the deck plates as if to prove his point. Alice tilted her head, studying him like a scientist would a lab rat. "Your continued use of humor is illogical." "Hey," Theo shot back. "It's either laugh or scream, and I'm fresh out of lung capacity." Part 2, working together. The hum of the mining station's corridors sang like a broken accordion, every so often punctuated by a squeal of protesting metal. Theo stalked beside Alice, his tool belt clinking with every step. Her movements remained precise, her expression unreadable. If her eyes had been set any colder, he could have used them to chill his coffee. "So, Alice," he ventured, adjusting, the scanner in his hand, "what brings a fancy piece of extraterrestrial technology like you to a dump like this?" "Sightseeing." Her head turned, movement so smooth it made him feel like a marionette by comparison. "My presence here is a result of navigational error compounded by gravitational flux. I did not intend to visit." She glanced around the station's corridor with the same disapproval one might reserve for an unidentifiable stain. Theo cracked a grin. "Ah, the old wrong exit ramp trick, huh? Happens to the best of us. Last week I ended up in a cargo bay filled with fermented worm sausages." He shuddered. Don't ask. Alice didn't blink. Humans and their culinary experiments are frequently illogical. You're telling me. He gestured with the scanner, which emitted a small beep that sounded like an electronic hiccup. Power conduits are fried from that reactor meltdown scare. We'll need to reroute them to stabilize your core. I'd ask you to hold the flashlight, but I'm guessing that's beneath your dignified alien dignity. She considered this. My species does not possess a concept of dignity as you define it. However, I will assist. Theo handed her the scanner. Good. To know you can be my assistant. Think of it as a team-building exercise. He rummaged through a crate and produced a tangle of cables that looked suspiciously like a nest of electric eels. Ah, the wonders of human engineering, he said, brandishing them dramatically. Alice examined the cables with a clinical eye. These appear to be suboptimal. Theo barked a laugh. Yeah, well, I've been called worse. Let's see if they hold together long enough to keep your ship from turning this place into a cosmic barbecue. As they worked, Theo kept up a steady stream of chatter, partly to fill the silence, partly because the station's occasional creaks and groans felt like the universe's way of reminding him it still wanted him dead. So your people don't do love, huh? He asked, voice light but eyes curious. Is that like a dietary restriction, or more of a moral code? Alice's fingers paused mid-connection, her gaze momentarily unfocused. Love is an evolutionary inefficiency, she said, her voice steady. My people eliminated it generations ago. Attachment is illogical, particularly in high-risk environments. She resumed her work, her fingers dancing with mechanical grace. Theo raised an eyebrow. Wow, must make for some real interesting date nights. She tilted her head, the slightest shift in her normally stoic expression. I do not understand. Theo sighed. Yeah, figures. He leaned closer, pretending to shield his voice. Let me guess, your species also doesn't get jokes? A faint twitch at the corner of her mouth. Or maybe it was just a trick of the flickering lights. Jokes are unnecessary. Part 3. Crisis Management. Theo's hands trembled as he fumbled with the reactor diagnostics panel, each wire a tiny snake waiting to bite. Alice loomed at his shoulder, her eyes flickering like twin data streams, analyzing every move he made. Your method is chaotic, she observed, voice a steady monotone that somehow carried a judgment sharper than any blade. He let out a shaky laugh, half nerves, half defiance. Yeah, well, chaos is just order with better party music. He shoved a bundle of cables aside and squinted at the reactor's pulsing core. Looks like the flux capacitor, no relation to time travel, decided to throw a tantrum. Alice's head tilted. Flux capacitor is a term from your popular culture. Its inclusion here is illogical. Theo waved her off. Hey, let me have my movie. References. It's either that or I start singing Space Oddity at the top of my lungs. Her eyes blinked slowly, like a glitch in her neural net. Singing would be inefficient. You keep using that word, Theo muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. I do not think it means what you think it means. He yanked a capacitor free and nearly singed his fingers as a spark leapt out like a pissed-off lightning bug. Ow! Damn it! He blew on his hand and shot her a look. Don't suppose your fancy alien tech has a fix for third-degree burns? Alice regarded him impassively. My people have advanced medical devices, but I lack access to them on this station. She paused. Your pain threshold is surprisingly low. Thanks, he deadpanned. I'll add that to my resume. He jammed the capacitor back in place and watched the console lights flicker to life briefly, then die again with a soft, electronic sigh. Well, that's anticlimactic. Alice leaned forward, her fingers moving with eerie precision as she adjusted a few connections. Your equipment is obsolete, she announced. I estimate a 78% probability of catastrophic failure within the next 3 hours. Theo's grin faltered. 78%? That's oddly specific. He shrugged. Guess we'll just have to make the most of it. Maybe throw a party before we all blow up. She blinked. That would be ill-advised. Never underestimate the therapeutic power of a bad idea. He leaned against the console, stretching his back. So tell me, no love, no jokes, and no parties. What do you guys do for fun? She paused, her expression unreadable. We study, we evolve, we adapt. Theo whistled. Sounds like a real laugh. Riot! He crossed his arms, eyes twinkling. And here I thought humans were boring. She considered this. Your species' reliance on emotional bonds is inefficient, yet it has allowed you to survive in hostile environments. Her gaze softened by a fraction. There is value in your illogical resilience. Theo grinned, feeling a small victory in that admission. Well, thanks for the compliment, I think. Another shudder rattled the deck plates, and a thin wisp of smoke hurled from the reactor's side panel. Oh, great! Here we go again. Alice moved with preternatural calm, hands darting across the controls like a dancer. This unit is nearing total meltdown. I must perform a core stabilization maneuver. You will assist, he groaned. Me? Help you? Last time I tried that, I nearly set my eyebrows on fire. Her lips twitched, barely. Your assistance is required. I will instruct you. Follow my directives precisely. He took a deep breath. All right. Boss lady, let's save the station, shall we? She nodded once. Commence. Theo's breath rattled in his chest as the reactor room's emergency lights bathed them in nauseating crimson glow. Okay, he said, voice strained. We've got a meltdown on the menu and no waitstaff to bring the check. Sparks popped from a console. Beside him, sizzling like the world's worst birthday candles, Alice remained unflappable. Focus on the plasma manifold. The ion flux is destabilizing. Your humor is irrelevant. Yeah, well, my humor is the only thing that's not on fire. Theo darted between control panels, fingers dancing like a jittery pianist. He could feel sweat trickling down his back. If I cross these wires, we might buy ourselves a few minutes, assuming we don't blow the whole station sky high. Alice's eyes glowed faintly as she monitored readings. Probability of success, 22%. Failure will result in total disintegration. 22%, huh? I've bet on worse odds at a spaceport bar. He grinned despite himself, finding perverse comfort in the absurdity of it all. So tell me, Ice Queen. She stiffened. Ice Queen? Theo's grin widened. Figure of speech. Means you're cool under pressure, even when the world's falling apart. He paused. Well, usually it can also mean you're emotionally frigid. But hey, let's not get hung up on the details. He winked. Now help me cross these wires. She exhaled. A sound that might have been a sigh in a human. Proceed. Together they worked in an awkward dance, his hands clumsy, hers precise. Each time he reached for a tool, she anticipated his move, passing him what he needed before he could ask. It was like working with a mind-reading vending machine minus the snacks. Between hurried connections, Theo shot her a glance. So, about that whole, we don't love like humans speech, is that like an actual law, or just a really bad pickup line? She didn't look up. It is an evolutionary adaptation. Love was deemed inefficient. My species eradicated it to enhance collective survival. Theo snorted. Well, that explains the warm and fuzzy welcome. He tightened a bolt with a satisfying click. And yet, here you are, saving my sorry hide. Some cold, logical alien you are. Alice hesitated, her finger stilling. Survival of the mission requires your technical expertise, she said, but her voice was almost too quick, too rehearsed. Theo arched an eyebrow. Sure. Whatever helps you sleep at night, or in your cryopod, or wherever you logical types hibernate. A tremor rocked the room, and a high-pitched whine built to an ear-splitting crescendo. Well, that can't be good, he muttered. Alice's eyes flared, irises shifting like liquid metal. The core's plasma field is breaching containment. We have less than 1 minute to reroute the flow. She moved with speed that made Theo's head spin, hands blurring as she realigned conduits. Theo followed her lead, hands shaking. If we live through this, remind me to buy you a drink, or... He paused. Wait, what do you drink? Her head snapped toward him, disbelief flickering in her gaze. This is not an appropriate time for social rituals. He barked a laugh. Hey, it's the perfect time. When the universe is going kaboom, you got to find the silver lining, even if it's just a drink menu. He met her gaze. Come on, what's your poison? Antimatter martini? Neutron fizz? She blinked, a stutter in her usually fluid movements. We consume nutrient solutions tailored to our biology. Theo grinned. Well, that sounds like a real party. A sudden silence filled the room, no alarms, no shaking. The reactor hummed steadily, a stubborn heartbeat refusing to die. He looked at her, his grin now weary but genuine. We did it. Alice's eyes met his, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. Temporary stabilization achieved, she said, but her voice was softer. You are adequate at improvisation, he snorted. High praise from an ice queen. He gave her a mock salute. Glad I could be of service. A brief pause, then her lips twitched, an almost smile. Proceed to the next junction. Further repairs are required. Part 5, Love's Efficiency. The mining station hummed with renewed life, though Theo knew it was temporary. They'd patched the critical systems, but the underlying problems remained. He wiped grease from his hands, watching Alice make final adjustments to her ship's power core. You know, he said, voice softer than usual, when this all started, I was just a grumpy engineer with a talent for creative cursing. Now I'm, well, still grumpy, but maybe a little braver. Alice paused in her work, silver fingers stilling, on the alien console. You have demonstrated growth, she said, her words measured as if they carried a weight she hadn't known she possessed. Your resilience, despite your inefficiencies, has been instructive. He barked a laugh. Instructive? That's the nicest thing anyone's said to me in this galaxy. He pushed himself upright, offering her a crooked grin. You know, I think I'm going to miss you when you go back to your logical, emotionally sterilized planet. Alice tilted her head, the faintest of smiles ghosting across her lips. I have reconsidered certain inefficiencies, she said, her voice hesitant, almost human. Emotions may not be entirely without merit. Theo's grin widened. Look at you, getting all philosophical on me. He reached out, his hand hovering near hers. So what now? You go back to your people and tell them love's not so bad after all? Or do you stay here and help me fix more busted plasma coils? Alice's eyes searched his face, 1,000 unspoken words flickering in that alien gaze. My people will not understand, she said quietly, but perhaps I will remain here for a time. Theo laughed, a genuine sound that felt like a new beginning. Well, I'd say the station's got plenty of broken parts that need fixing, and I can't think of a better partner for the job. He clapped his hands together. Besides, who else is going to call me out on my jokes? She tilted her head, her eyes soft. Your jokes are inefficient, she said, but this time her lips curved into a smile, small but real. Theo winked. Guess I'll just have to teach you the value of a good punchline. He reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. Her skin was cool but warming under his touch, and he felt a spark of connection that felt anything but inefficient. You know what I think? He said, intertwining their fingers. I think your people got it backwards. Love isn't inefficient. It's what makes all the other stuff worth doing. The repairs, the crises, the near-death experiences, They're all just excuses to stick around for the people who matter. Alice considered this, her analytical mind processing the concept. Your species thrives on chaos, she said finally. It is inefficient, but... She paused, looking at their joined hands. Perhaps efficiency is not the only measure of value. Now you're getting it. Theo squeezed her hand gently. Welcome to the wonderful world of human illogic, where we do stupid things for stupid reasons and somehow make it work. She almost laughed, a sound like crystalline chimes. I find myself curious about these inefficiencies. Well, you're in luck, Theo said, his grin infectious. I'm an expert in beautiful disasters and poorly thought-out plans. First lesson, sometimes the best things happen when you're not trying to optimize everything. As if to prove his point, the station's lights flickered once, then steadied, not perfect but holding. Elias looked around at the patched systems, the jury-rigged solutions, the beautiful chaos of human engineering making the impossible work. Perhaps, she said, her voice carrying a warmth that would have shocked her people. There is something to be said for controlled inefficiency. Theo laughed, pulling her closer. Controlled inefficiency, I like that. We'll put it on our business cards. He looked into her eyes, seeing not the cold precision of her species, but something wonderfully, perfectly human. So, Ice Queen, ready to learn what love is really about? Her smile was radiant, transforming her features entirely. I believe, she said, I am ready to be inefficient. And in that moment, surrounded by the gentle hum of their repaired station, Theo knew that some inefficiencies were worth everything.